This video is brought to you by Bookmark.com. Bookmark's a free website builder where you can create a professional-looking website with hosting in just a couple minutes by answering 7 simple questions. Bookmark's AI engine, Ada, literally builds your website right in front of your face in less than 2 minutes, and you can edit virtually every aspect of the page once it's complete. You can also upgrade to connect your existing domain and create an online store with e-commerce integration. It's awesome. Click the link in the description below or check them out at Bookmark.com.
Yo, I'm Brian P. You're watching Bad Seed Tech, and today we're taking a look at an NVMe M.2 solid-state drive. This is the Crucial P1. Now, reviews like this have a tendency to get very deep and very dry, so for the purpose of staying on brand, I'm only looking at the performance of this drive with regard to 2 real-world scenarios. Number 1, how big of a pain in the ass is it going to be to migrate my existing drive and its boot sector to this drive, thus making my old hard drive just storage for games and encodes? Number 2, does it offer a meaningful performance increase versus a similarly priced SSD drive, or does it offer an acceptable price to performance ratio versus the industry-leading NVMe drive? Or to put it a different way, this or Samsung. For transparency, I did reach out to Crucial for a review sample on this, and they agreed to send one over. This is the 500 gig model we're looking at right now. Priced at launch, this thing was $109. This can be had on Amazon right now for just under 80 bucks. The test bed this is going in today will be my encoding PC, so you're looking at a Gigabyte RS X370 motherboard that's with an AMD 2700X chip and 16 gig of Corsair DDR4 at 2666. I'll be migrating the system drive from a 1 terabyte Samsung 860 EVO SSD. That drive in a 500 gig capacity will run you about 78 bucks on Amazon right now, so I feel like this gives us a pretty good price frame to work in. One of the biggest factors you should know about the 500 gig P1 is that its sequential write speeds take a sharp nosedive in comparison to the 1 terabyte model. We're talking 950 megabytes per second versus 1700 megabytes per second on the 1 terabyte variant. This really matters if you're going to be moving large files around, i.e. big video files, stuff like filmed footage or game captures or encodes. For the everyday user, the real performance indicator we're going to be looking at here is random small size read and write. Install was a breeze here. There was nothing blocking the slot on my motherboard. There was no heatsink to remove, so it was as easy as just inserting it and tightening the screw. Yeah, you insert it. Pro tip here, put a sheet of paper over your open PSU shroud or your PSU if you're running it with the fan side up. The last thing you want to do is drop your tiny NVMe screw into your PSU, turning a 5-minute install into like a 4-hour nightmare. With the drive mounted, the rest of the process was pretty straightforward. There's some great tutorials on Crucial's website. They will direct you to download a Cronus True Image software. Just download and install that. This will take all the guesswork out of cloning the drive. It'll take care of formatting the drive for you, deciding which boot sector format you need to use, and copying all the files over. In real life, this is the first time I've ever completed a process like this. Normally with a new drive, I'll just format it and load a fresh copy of the OS. If you feel comfortable doing that, I really advise you go that way. Just please be sure to back up all of your important stuff first. Don't forget your save games. They don't all go to the cloud. Everything happened in just a few clicks, and moving approximately 300 gig of data over, the process quoted me a time of about 13 to 17 minutes. And though it constantly assured me I had between 20 and 30 minutes left, this process actually took approximately an hour and a half real time to complete. Growing impatient along the way, I decided to check out the performance of the machine, and it didn't appear to be getting taxed in any way. Basically, when the buffer filled on the P1, it slowed to a crawl and struggled to maintain any kind of speed whatsoever for the duration of the clone. The problem with this is that the software doesn't give you any indication that this is happening. It doesn't show you any data throughput rate or anything, so you're going to be depending on Windows' own performance tools. After all that was said and done, it was just a matter of going into the BIOS and selecting the new drive as the boot drive and booting into it. Now, in reality, in real life, I didn't see any performance increase in boot times using the NVMe over the existing SSD. The drive capacity after formatting this went down to about 465 gig. As the drive I was moving from had about 300 gig on it, that was going to fill this drive to about 65%. Versus the 860 EVO SSD, the sequential speeds in both read and write here smoked it. Read was 1516 megabytes per second, and the write was 964 on the P1 versus 565 megabytes per second and 537 on the EVO. Now, these are the speeds that manufacturers like to show off and put on the front of the box, but they don't necessarily represent real-world usage for the everyday user. The real-world test, the random small data read-write test, saw the P1 easily besting the 860. In the QATA test, it managed double the random write speed. Strangely, the 860 actually beats the P1 out here in the same category in random reads. If anybody has any feedback on why this is, I'm all ears. Let me know in the comments. You'll primarily find the Samsung 970 EVO out there in the market, but the one I'm testing against today is the 960 EVO, and the P1 gets smoked. It's not even a contest. The numbers speak for themselves. Now, I had heard that due to the technology, the P1 will actually start to slow down the more you fill the drive. So seeing as how we started at 65%, I deleted some files off and got that usage down to about 40% and ran the benchmarks again. Here we see marginal performance increase, but nothing that's a game changer. I also decided to take some heat measurements on the P1 using a very real-world scenario, so I just copied the entire game folder of Black Ops 4 over from the 860 EVO to the P1. Now, interestingly, because we have way better visibility on the data throughput right here, you can watch this buffer fill up and then grind to almost a halt for the remainder of the transfer. It takes almost 4 minutes to move 65 gig worth of data. Temps during this process ran like mid-40s, which is pretty much what I see with the Samsung NVMe's. It did spike into the 50s a couple times. For me personally, I'll definitely be using a heatsink on this, and I would ensure that your case has pretty good airflow. So, did it hit the mark? In terms of everyday use with regard to speed, it's a solid step up from an SSD. But you also have to take into account the endurance of this drive. Every SSD has a limited lifespan, and this one in its 500 gigabyte variant is limited to 100 terabytes of writes. The Samsung 970 EVO has triple that endurance rating at this capacity, and the speeds are substantially more impressive across the board. But you're also looking at a $130 NVMe drive. That's a $50 increase over the P1, which does have a 5-year warranty, by the way. There may be a couple other contenders out there at this price point, but for what this is, a budget entry into an NVMe drive for $80, I feel like this thing hits the mark. At the launch price of $109, I don't feel like this drive made a lot of sense, but at its current price of about $80, this is really tough to beat. I am going to be running this full-time in my encoding machine, so if I have any reliability issues with this thing in the future, I'll be sure and update you guys. Again, thanks so much to Crucial for sending this out for review. As always, I will leave some affiliate links in the description below if you'd like to grab one for yourself. It really helps me out.
Today's Setup Flex feature is the QUDDUS. This dude is currently on his way to graduating high school and already has a pretty mean setup. His PC is an i5 8600, 16 gig of DDR4 at 3000 megahertz with a GTX 1070. He's playing on a Corsair K70 Rapid Fire, an Air 58 Ninja, and a Logitech G Pro wireless, and the Asus 24-inch 144Hz G-Sync panel. He's currently a streamer for Rogue. You can catch him on Twitch every weekday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern and weekends from 12 p.m. to 2 a.m. and is currently playing Fortnite and Apex Legends. If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming Setup Flex, check the card in the corner for details.
That's it for this time. I'm Brian P. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that sub button, and until next time, stay up. It's Andy King, taking one for the team.